Wheel building is something I've done for years and years, probably 35 years. I used to be a shop in local area Beedale where there was a guy called Arthur Anderson, who was a real old school bike mechanic, and I loved watching him build wheels. He taught me to build wheels 35, 40 years ago. My format is that I build a really easy to build wheel. You can go anywhere in the world and change a spoke, and you can change the bearings if you need to. You don't have to have any specialist tools. And so that's where it developed from, is just to build wheels for everybody, for everywhere. They're just good wheels that work. The developing side of a disc wheel was for personal use, really, was the fact that I ride the velodrome, race on the track, and the company that I use for buying my road rims off, they did a track disc wheel. The move was obvious just to have my own wheel, I guess. Initially I was using the wheels just for training with, because they weren't up to the standard that was required to race on. Another disc became available. The initial discs we got hold of weren't exactly what we wanted. They were great for endurance riders that were just doing basic flat out racing, but if you put a lot of power through them, we felt as though they were flexing slightly. So subsequent tests and runs and everything else, we developed a stronger disc. It was obviously heavier. We put 150 grams on it just to try and get the wheel stiffer. This has been going on for probably 18 months, 2 years now, from the first ones that we got, which were good. They were really nice discs, but we felt that they weren't doing the job that needed to do. After that, we kind of then went back into testing to find out how they absorbed a standing start from a sprinter stage, to find out when they're putting big watts through it out of the start gate. Or if you're coming from the top of the fence on a track, dropping in, flying 200s and things like that, the loads onto a front disc is quite big into the corners, so that's where you need the stiffness within the disc. On testing them, we found that they were as fast as anything out there, and we've settled on a disc that is now weighs around 950 grams, give or take. They won't ever come out as exactly the same weight, all of them, but it's about 950 grams for a clincher, which is pretty light compared to most things. Moving forward into the newer discs, the tubulars were super quick. They felt really fast on the track, and they felt comparable to Campags, which I've been using all the time anyway. So I stopped using the Ghiblis and used the tubulars more and more. Then we moved on to the clincher version, and we've messed about with the clincher version, testing it with Veloflex tyres and Vittoria Piste Oros and FMBs, and we found that the Oros sit really nice and they felt really smooth, and by reducing the pressure on the tyre reduces the harshness of the track, so you made a smoother ride. The O10 older teams, 55 to 65 year old teams, started to use them, and we all felt the same. So the next step obviously was to try and prove what we felt was right. We decided that we'd go and do a test against other brands, all the other brands, and especially the Campags which I'd used, the Mavics. The way we conducted the test was we did it at the velodrome as a live test rather than a wind tunnel test, so that it was a test where we used 3 separate weights of riders on 2 different bikes. So we had a variant of the bikes and we had a variant of the rider weights, and we tested them over a lap time. We had a specific lap time that we were aiming at, so we could see what watts were being produced and what the CDA of the tyre was, what the CDA of the rider was, so we could actually compare them all like for like. Predominantly we used tubulars on the Campags. Obviously we didn't have any Campag clincher versions. We used Mavic tubulars as well. We used my wheel with the tubular and the clincher on, and it stacked up what we all thought. The clincher version of the disc was as fast as anything we had, and the numbers came out and just proved what we all felt, and that was amongst all the 3 different weights of riders as well. So it wasn't like we were just sat on one rider testing one pair of wheels and we had a single result. We did multiple runs, back-to-back testing of the same tyre on different riders and the tubulars, and they all backed up, so it was a good test. If these wheels had stacked up to be as quick as what we feel they are, and they were, then the next thing to do was actually get them UCI certified. The UCI require a video of the deflection, and you register the deflection of the wheel from dropping a weight onto it, and then its lateral deflection and whether the wheel stays in true after having a weight dropped on it. You have to have multiple photographs of the wheel from every single angle, showing the hubs, the configuration of the tyres, and whether it's tubular, clincher. You fill in all the paperwork then for the UCI, send it off, and just wait for it to be either certified or it isn't, which is a long drawn out process. I started this process to get them UCI tested just prior to Christmas 2024. And it took until May 25 to get the first test through. So now the two discs, front and rear discs, both clincher and tubular, are now UCI certified, so that we can use them at World Masters, or you could go and use them with the senior world champs. Everybody could use them. I've actually had a one rider off the squad use them at the Nationals this year for the 500 time trial, which would prove very beneficial. The big worry of always not having them certified is you could turn up at the World Masters, and if they decided they wanted to check every wheel frame and everything to be certified, if a frame isn't certified, there's a chance they could stop you starting. So the reason was a peace of mind for us as a team to have wheels that were, one, capable of doing the job, and two, allowed to be ridden, and nobody could question what they were. And equally, if you start breaking world records, then they start looking at equipment to see whether the equipment is UCI legal, and if it isn't, then there's a chance that world records could be denied because of it. So that was the reasoning behind it all. Generally, I have a stock of discs. If I don't have stock in, then you would look at 6-week waiting time. Since I've got the full confidence of the wheel, and the wheel has now become the go-to wheel, I generally do have a stock. As soon as I sell, I start replacing the stock. So if people want to buy wheels, then yes, I'll get them straight out in the post, or I deliver them.